Hello and welcome to Trekkie and Beyond, a Star Trek podcast. I'm Moneca.
And I'm Andrea, and welcome to episode 1 of season 4 of Lower Decks. I'm not going to try to pronounce it. It is Twovix.
Twovix.
And in this season premiere of Lower Decks, the Cerritos ensigns must assist a caretaker on a voyage of historical significant ship. I love little word puns. So let's go ahead and get into it.
It's a comedy of errors, which is my recipe for success for Lower Decks. They go through a series of adventures, but this time with the Voyager. And in the end, I was like, oh, I need to rewatch Voyager because this looks so much fun and it's been a long time. So it reconnected me with a show that I haven't seen in a few decades.
I thought, wow, they're actually making me think about an ethical dilemma. And it's also a lot of fun, and it's also a lot of laughs. And I didn't realize how much I missed them. Like, I really missed a true, full Lower Decks episode. So I loved it. But I wasn't expecting to be like, oh, wait, should you do that? That's an ethical dilemma. Oh my gosh, Voyager, what did you do? So I'm so excited to go ahead and get into this discussion. The opening scene that we have is basically the Cerritos is heading towards a secret, quote unquote, mission, foreign mission that has been heavily classified and redacted, and there's no like information about it until they get really close, and we see Mariner, who tries to act like she's not a Starfleet geek, freak out over the fact that she and her and Boimler and all of them are about to be on the USS Voyager.
First of all, it was a little suspenseful because the captain made it seem like this was some sort of classified mission. So I was starting to get a little stressed, and I was like, oh, but typically Lower Decks is a little lighter. Like, what's this classified mission thing? It wasn't. It was fun under the cover until this museum is open to the public. So yeah.
I will say I didn't get that part. I didn't get why it needed to be undercover. Like, I get that it needed to be a surprise, but I don't know. It made it seem like it was almost like state secrets. I was like, it's not a state secret. It's just a surprise.
Right.
And then we also know that our other fun instant love of our lives, and his purple hair, is up for a promotion, possibly. And it's very interesting to see Boimler almost go up for a promotion that he didn't go up for. Like, normally he tries to like psych himself out. I was like, oh my God, there's an opening here, there's an opening there. I'm gonna go for it. And this time he is sort of approached with a possible promotion in the opening sequence as well. And I thought that was pretty cute, and also like, yay! Like, you have been an ensign for 3 years so far. Like, you do, or at least we've seen on the show for 3 years. Mm-hmm. You do deserve to be promoted. You do deserve to get your flowers, and we're starting to see a little man grow up. What did you think about that part?
Up for promotion, and it looks like he was nervous in the beginning, the opening scene, about spoiling it for himself, and that's part of this adventure for today. Because he has a tendency of doing that.
So let's go ahead and get into the meat of the episode. I guess one thing I always have to remember when we do Lower Decks is that it is a shorter episode. So it's only like 30 minutes. And we're so used to talking about the long, or at least watching the longer Star Trek episodes where it's like an hour worth of information and it's all like drama filled and you're stressed out. And so it was sort of like interesting going back to a quick little watch. You're just like, oh, wait. Episode's over already? Hold up, let's run that back because I feel like I missed something. But this whole episode really was truly about finding and accepting yourself. At least for me, that's what I thought. For Brad, we see him trying to find and accept himself and be okay with him trying to go for promotion. And in the ethical dilemma portion, we see that with Tindy and with her new best friend, who does not want to be her best friend, but when there's a Tindy, there's a way.
Yeah.
And we see that they have their little almost dilemma of coming out of your Vulcanness and accepting and growing a little bit. And it's okay that you're on Starfleet. It's okay that you're not at the Vulcan Academy anymore, that you need to learn and grow and accept yourself. And those come about because people are merging into themselves.
Yeah, so we should introduce Taylin and we were, I guess, formally introduced to her last season with the
It was
Vulcans.
the lower decks of all the other shows, of all the other, like, not shows, sorry, all the other, like, species. So we had the Vulcan lower decks, we had the Klingon lower decks, and then we had a lower decks of some other ship as well. And it was showing how other people and other decks acted and when they had their like off times and stuff. And Taylin is from that. Oh, Taylin and Tindy. When there's a Tindy, there's a way. You're going to be her new best friend. And we see that she is not like Rutherford, where she is accepting of Tindy's brightness in the way that Rutherford does.
Right, because she also thinks this is a temporary appointment for herself. She wants to prove to the Vulcans that she's smart and worthy and then head back there. So she's not as, I think, committed and invested in Starfleet.
But we see that starting to maybe a hint of growth is changing within this episode, because she's starting to see that it's okay to be different and okay to do things outside of the Vulcan way. And it doesn't make you less to not be with other Vulcans. Because though we do need a Vulcan brain, because as the Cerritos does, the Cerritos is synonymous with hodgepodge of mishaps. And to this hodgepodge of mishaps is a transport accident stemming from the Voyager. It's almost a callback to a Voyager episode of two different, in this case, Dr. Ta'an and Billups from engineering merge accidentally in the transporter and like merge into one whole new being, which comes up of the title TWOVIX, because I cannot pronounce it. I'm so sorry. New person being a sentient being. So normally sometimes you see a transport, we almost think of them as being like, okay, you're still Tindy and you're still Dr. Ta'ana and you're still Billups. And you both have your like separate thoughts, but you're sharing a body, so you want to be separated. But this guy is a whole new person. It's like he has the same memories of Billups and Dr. Ta'ana, but he calls himself a new name. He goes by a new persona, and he considers himself one person and does not want to be separated, regardless of the fact that he exists because two people merged. And what's the ethical dilemma of, do you listen to this person's bodily autonomy and say we're not going to split you up because they want to be the person that they are now, or do you make them who they used to be because they were two other different individuals? Lower Decks, I didn't expect you to make me think about ethical dilemmas of what to do. Shocking.
This is similar to a Strange New World episode from last season where Spock, the ethical dilemma about Spock and his humanness, and whether the alien species that took out his Vulcanness was doing the right thing and so forth like that. So it's kind of similar. It's a stretch, but yeah, both ethical dilemmas.
What did you think of the dilemma? Did you think they should have separated, or do you think they should have kept them together?
Oh, I think they should have separated because they started out separately. It was an accident that merged them together.
That is true. And then everyone else got forcibly. Because it's very interesting, the person who got merged. You had a medical person and you had the engineering person. Two very, very, very smart people merged into one being. So you had the medical smartness of like, I know how the body works and how everyone's body in here works. I understand it. And then the engineering brain of, I know how to work everything on this ship. So like, I can make what I want to happen. And we see that with this character kidnapping the doctor, who likes to use food puns. And I'm so over those food puns. We see him merge the doctor with the captain. He's like, I need allies. I realize that no one's going to keep me alive by myself. If I'm by myself. As he tries to turn the entire Cerritos ship into merged beings. But he doesn't just do it randomly. he does it by using like the medical knowledge of, oh, this person and this person will blend well together. This person and this person will blend well together. And it's like there's a method to the madness. There's not just blending different people. And then also I noticed, besides the whale and besides the dolphin and the man getting merged, like everyone who was merged with both a male and female got merged together. No males got merged together and no females got merged together. So now that makes me think, is Billups still considered a virgin? Is he now going to be the king of his land? Because he's been inside a woman now. What? That is the rule. The rule is he has to remain a virgin, or he becomes the king of his planet. And he has all the memories of everything that Dr. Ta'ana did. Are those like, does it count?
No, because it didn't end with a happy ending.
I mean, this is rated PG, so I won't go into that conversation. Okay, moving on.
Hey, his mother brought it up first.
No, I was going to go into a deeper conversation about something else that we do not have time for today. Come back to Trekkie and Beyond After Dark for those conversations. But we see that Taylin, instead of just like trying to keep them all separate, she's like, I'm going to be very analytical about this, and I'm going to merge them all into one big like husk of a thing. And it's a horrible monster. Like there's no saving that. It's just an ugly little monster. But it takes both her and Tendi working together. We needed Taylin's analytical brain and Tendi's heart, almost basically, to separate Cerritos' crew back into their individual pieces. The funny story is, I was definitely waiting for one of the people who were merged to be like, I want to be merged again. I was expecting that to happen because I feel like that would have been a total ending to like a Lower Decks episodes. Like, I want to be merged again. We sometimes see Billups always being like that one episode we saw Billups being alone and eating by himself. And so sometimes it's like, what if there was one person who felt so alone? It's like, I finally had a friend. I want to be merged again. Or like putting the flower in like a little jar to keep it for later. Like, I don't know. I expected that to happen with Lower Decks, and that did not.
Speaking of flowers, that was a big, long journey that one little petal took to land on Billups' foot at just the right time for this transporter accident. What a coincidence.
Cerritos is synonymous with missteps. Mm-hmm. But then back on the Voyager, we have Boimler and Rutherford going through a little bit of a dilemma. Oh, and a Mariner going through a dilemma of their own of a like ancient germ species. I wasn't even when I rewatched it, I wasn't still sure what they were calling it. Like what it just looked like a booger. I'm so sorry. It just looked like a big booger. Like I don't know what else to call it. Like that's all my brain could think. It is supposed to be some like sentient thing that is like alive and taking over the ship and like bringing a lot of the attractions of the Voyager ship back to life, and like trying to control and take over the ship.
That macro organism, I think, is like a deep cut from the Voyager. But I kept thinking this curator and his historian that seemed to be way too passive. And I wish he took more control of the situation. I feel like it shouldn't have been left up to two ensigns to try to work this all out.
So it wasn't supposed to be left up to the two ensigns. Boimler just didn't free ransom. Boimler only freed Rutherford. And Ransom was like, hey, get us out of here too. He's like, no time. I just need one. And I need an engineer. Yeah, he just needs an engineer. We see Mariner being a great friend to Boimler, and we see that Boimler becomes Boimler and overthinks and sort of messes up a lot. And it comes out that is because he was afraid of moving forward because he didn't want to ruin their friendship again. And I thought that was really sweet. It's also shown because sometimes in cartoons or adult animations, we never actually see the character grow. Sometimes it's like they're not meant to grow because they're supposed to always like be in that like drawn image thought process. And we're seeing that these characters are growing and they're learning from their past mistakes. And we also see that Mariner's like, I wanted you to get promoted. I told Ransom to promote you. And I'm loving seeing like their friendship grow in the way where she's not worried about being left behind like she was before. And he's not really worried. And he wasn't worried about not being promoted. He was worried about losing his friendship. And it was showing like how in the very beginning, she was like, why would you ever want to be promoted? And he's like, I would do anything to be promoted over my friendship. And how like they're both sort of like changing. And I like that. They're growing, becoming besties for life. They're soulmates. Platonic soulmates, people. Not romantic, platonic soulmates.
Yes. So Tendi was promoted last season. Not quite sure of Talin's rank. This is kind of like a good niche, this lower decks area. So I'm wondering what's going to happen when they're part of the bridge crew then. And will they like replace them with other lower deckers, or will they like change the tone in the show?
Well, so after the episode, we see that our crew, except for Rutherford, sorry, pour one out for my homie, they all get an extra little pip. And they're all sort of promoted to like the lowest level of lieutenant. So they're not like on the bridge crew yet, but they're like, if A, B, C, and D shift all mess up, then we're gonna like, then you're like D shift's understudy. Like that's how they sort of described it. Like they were on the lowest tier of promotions.
Making me completely think my own definition of bridge crew.
Someone's doing a deep dive later, people. As a deep cut to our deep dive episodes, go watch. So what was something else from this episode that like stood out to you?
The mannequins of the crew from Voyager. So it was nice to see Harry Kim and Tuvok and a few others. So pretty cool to see, to reminisce, to walk down memory lane there.
One thing I thought about when I was watching this episode was how they always do an A and B story, and how sometimes they merge and sometimes they don't. But it's like how this one merged together at the very end.
Yeah.
Sometimes we just see them like, oh, your day sounded amazing, or my day didn't do anything like that. They don't really merge, just them having a drink at the end of the day. But this one merged together at the end with them getting their promotions. The story ended together. And like how both A and B stories both started off of the one story of them being on Voyager. So I thought that was, I mean, I may be overthinking it, but I thought that was cute.
I can imagine it would be a lot harder in writing that compared to just writing a sequence in which you follow the same characters. So quick poll. I would love to hear comments from the listening and watching audience about what other references of Voyager they would like to have seen in this episode. There was a lot of Easter eggs that like we couldn't mention in this podcast, but maybe you've noticed a few things and share it.
And what do you think of them being promoted? What do you think, guys? Do you think that Mariner accepted that promotion in the normal way, or was it out of character? And I only say this because of all the props she was giving Boimler. As I said earlier, it seemed like they were like she was growing, and it seemed like this part sort of like ignored everything she said in the earlier part of the episode. When she was like talking, I know she was talking to Boimler, but it still made it seem like she was like on track for like supporting the promotion. She was like, yes, get it. I'm so happy for you guys. I'm so happy. I'm proud of you. And then when she got promoted, it's like everything regressed. And I don't know. She would have been against the promotions more throughout the episode for her to act that way versus her to be so happy and proud of everyone and then freak out. I don't know. Maybe I'm overthinking it. Let me know in the comments if you think I'm overthinking it.
Yeah, that's a really good point you brought up, because ever since I found out that her roommate from Starfleet Academy is now the captain of a ship, it really makes me think about her career trajectory differently. Like she's been in working in the Federation for a long time, and to have a peer that's at that level. So she's clearly stated that she likes being in the lower decks. So what is it like also to then get this promotion, or to see your friends move up in rank and she's not?
Because we know that she's been demoted and like seasons 1, 2, and 3. She's been on multiple ships. She's been on different stations. She's held multiple ranks, and she keeps getting demoted. So maybe it's a little bit of self-sabotage, but we will find out maybe in some future episodes. As always, I'm Andrea.
I'm Moneca.
And live long and prosper.